Dear students, the other day we have discussed about Newton's first law of motion and Newton's second law of motion. We also discussed about momentum and impulse. Newton's first law of motion tells us that when no external force is acting on the object, the body or object continues to be in the state of rest or in the state of uniform motion. And Newton's second law tells us that when a net external force means the force which should come outside the object. When net external force is acting on the object, so the object will accelerate. The direction of acceleration will be in the direction of net force acting on it. We have also already discussed in the last class. And one more is nothing but momentum. Momentum is nothing but mass in motion. Mass times velocity is nothing but momentum. Today we are going to discuss about one more law of motion, that is Newton's third law of motion. Newton's third law. See here, simply we can explain Newton's third law like this. When you kick on a football, let us consider this is object A, object B. So when two bodies interact each other, when you kick on a football, so you are exerting some force on the ball. This is nothing but force exerted by, who is exerting force here? A is exerting force. Force exerted by A, on whom the force is acting? B. The force is acting on B. Force exerted by A on B. F A on B is nothing but force exerted by A on B. See, when you kick on the football, you will feel some pain. That means football also kicks back you. That means force exerted by B on A is also there. So football also exert equal and opposite force on you. So that means FB on A is nothing but force exerted by B on A. How these two forces are? These two forces are opposite in direction but equal in magnitude. So force exerted by A on B is equal and opposite to force exerted by B on A. So that means to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Here action and reaction are nothing but forces. Action force, reaction force, opposite reaction. One more important point that we can conclude is forces occur in pair. From this we can conclude that when two bodies are interacting, two forces come into picture. So forces occur in pair. And one more important conclusion is here in action-reaction pair. So here force is acting on B, and in this reaction force is acting on A. So action, reaction act on different bodies. So here action, reaction acts on different objects or different bodies, not on same body. And third important conclusion is we can consider A and B as action, so B on A will become reaction. Or you can consider force exerted by B on A as action, so that it will become reaction. So it is wrong to consider reaction will come after action, because these two forces occur at the same time, simultaneously. So we can treat any one of the force as action, so other one will become reaction. So third important conclusion is action reaction takes place at same time. Action reaction takes place at the same time. And see here, when a book is kept on a table surface, when a book is kept on a table surface. Let us see how many forces are acting on the book here. Now one is, let's consider this book is having some mass. So force exerted by earth on gravitational force, that is nothing but force exerted by earth on book is there. Force exerted by earth on book is there. Why I am pointing it as a downward force? Because the gravitational force always towards earth, downside direction. What is another force that is acting? When a object is on the table surface exert perpendicular force on the object. That perpendicular force we call it as normal force. Here the normal force is nothing but force exerted by table on book surface. Table on book. Force exerted by table on book. These two forces looks like equal and opposite. That means force exerted by earth on book is equal and opposite to force exerted by table on book. See here, the force is acting on same object. Here the force is acting on book. In this case also force is acting on book. Are these forces action reaction? No, these are not action reaction. Why these are not action reaction? We have discussed already. The action reaction acts on different bodies, not on same bodies. So these will not form action reaction. So what are the action reactions that are possible here? Force exerted by earth on book is equal and opposite to force exerted by book on earth. Book also exerts some force on earth. These two are action reaction. This is action reaction pair. And one more is nothing but force exerted by table on book. Table on book is equal to force exerted by book on table. Book on table. This is also an action reaction pair because here the force is acting on two different bodies and those two forces are equal and opposite in manner. So these two are action reaction, but this is not action reaction. And one more important point that we are going to conclude here is we cannot include action reaction forces in free body diagram. We should not include action reaction forces in free body diagram. In free body diagram means it is the diagram which indicates the number of forces acting on the object and in what direction they are acting. Okay, free body diagram is nothing but once again it is the diagram which indicates the type of forces acting on it and in which direction they are acting. Now we are going to discuss about law of conservation of momentum. Momentum is nothing but mass in motion. We have discussed in other day class. See here, I am taking a isolated system which is not affected by the others. Isolated system. I am taking isolated system. Here I am taking two objects or two persons. So these two people are inside the system. So force exerted by, let this person as A and this person as B. When a person A pushes on B, force exerted by A on B. So B also exert equal and opposite force on A. Force exerted by B on A. So see here these two are action reaction because they are acting on different bodies. Here the force is acting on B and here in this case the force is acting on A. So these two forms action reaction pairs. And these two forces are inside the isolated system. So we call these two forces are internal forces. Force exerted by A on B and force exerted by B on A are internal forces as they are inside the isolated system. They are internal forces. And also there is no force acting on the isolated system outside. So external force equal to 0. There is no external force acting on the isolated system from outside. No one is acting force on isolated system. So only the people inside the isolated system are exerting force on each other. So So force exerted by A on B and B on A are internal forces. Okay. Now I am taking force exerted by A on B is equal and opposite to force exerted by B on A. Okay. And multiply the amount of time for which they are in interaction is nothing but delta T. They are pushing on each other. So the amount of time for which they are interacting is nothing but delta T. So I am multiplying delta T on both sides. Multiply delta T on both sides. So force exerted by A on B into delta T is equal to minus of force exerted by B on A into delta T. We know in previous class we have discussed that force into delta T is nothing but impulse. Impulse is nothing but change in momentum. Okay. So here change in momentum of whom? Your force is acting on B. So momentum of B changes here. And here force is acting on A. So momentum of A is changing here. So force into time interval from impulse momentum theorem. From impulse momentum theorem that we have discussed in last class. Impulse J is equal to large amount of force acting for short interval of time is nothing but change in momentum. Final momentum minus initial momentum. P2 minus P1. So here force is acting on B. So change in momentum occurs in B. So final momentum. Let final momentum is Pb dash minus initial momentum is P. Change in momentum of B. So Pb dash minus Pb is equal to final momentum of A. Final momentum. Let final momentum of A is nothing but Pa dash and initial momentum is Pa. Right? This is final momentum of B and this is initial momentum of B. Initial momentum of B. Okay. So Pb dash, your force is acting on B. So momentum. If force into time is nothing but change in momentum. So as force is acting on B, so momentum of B changes. So Pb dash minus B. Pb. Final momentum minus initial momentum. Your force is acting on A. So momentum of A changes. That means final momentum of A minus final momentum of initial momentum of A. Okay. So I am rearranging the terms. So here minus sign is also there. Here we need to keep minus sign. Right. So okay. Pb dash minus Pb is equal to multiply minus 2 inside minus Pa dash minus of minus plus Pa. Okay, I am rearranging the terms. Bring Pb to this side, so it will become Pb dash and this minus Pa dash to left side of the equation. So it will become Pa dash. Minus Pa dash will become plus Pa when it comes to left side of the equation. Now on the right side there is Pa and bring this minus Pb to right side. So it will become Pb. Therefore we can conclude that Pa plus Pb is equal to Pa dash plus Pb dash. That means Pa plus Pb is nothing but sum of momentum of A and B initially and sum of momentum and A and B finally. So total momentum before collision, before interaction equal to total momentum. Sum is nothing but total momentum after interaction or after collision. So total momentum, sum of momentum of A and B before interaction equal to sum of momentum and A and B after interaction. Total momentum before interaction equal to total momentum after interaction. We call this as the law of conservation of momentum principle. Momentum principle. If there are no external forces are acting on the system, total momentum before interaction equal to total momentum after interaction is called as the law of conservation of momentum. See here, that means we know from Newton's second law of motion, we also can conclude like this. From Newton's second law, we know that sum of external forces is equal to rate of change of momentum, dp by dt. External force, I consider that no external forces are acting on the object. So external force equal to 0. That means dp by dt is equal to 0. Rate of change of something must be equal to 0. When something is equal to constant. So rate of change of something equal to 0. And P must be constant here. So P must be constant. We know that rate of change of constant equal to 0 and rate of change of momentum equal to 0. By comparing these two equations, P must be constant. P must be constant. That means momentum before collision equal to momentum after collision. We can define the law of conservation of momentum like this. If no external forces are acting on the system, the total momentum of the object is conserved or constant of motion. Now I am drawing the conclusion. If no external forces are acting on the object, if no external forces are acting on the object, then the momentum, total momentum of the system, total momentum of an object is conserved. This is law of conservation of momentum principle. We have seen that no internal forces affect the internal forces cannot affect the motion of the object, because if you are inside the bus, if you want to move the bus, if the people inside the bus pushes on each other, that will not affect the motion of the object. Isn't it right? Will the bus be in motion when two persons are inside the bus pushing on each other? No. If two persons get down from the bus and pushing the bus from externally, so that only the bus can move. Isn't it right? So external forces only cause the motion, but not internal forces. So final conclusion is internal forces do not affect the motion of an object. Only external forces can do affect the motion of the object. Now we are going to discuss about resolution of vectors. We have already learnt this topic in motion in a plane. For the recall purpose, I am explaining again. See here, if there is a force like this, vector like this, force is nothing but a vector, a force like this, and this force is making an angle of theta with the x-axis, So this force has two components. One is x component fx and another is y component fy. Okay, fx is nothing but magnitude of x component of force, and fy is nothing but magnitude of y component of force, But see here, force is a vector quantity which requires both magnitude and direction to discuss about it. But we have only magnitude fx in this direction and fy in this direction, in y component direction. So in order to indicate the direction, we talk about unit vectors. Here ijk's are unit vectors along x, y, z axis respectively. So here unit vector is nothing but which is having magnitude is equal to 1 and their main purpose is to indicate the direction of a vector. Okay, so here unit vector I is a unit vector along x axis and j is a unit vector along y axis. Unit vector along y axis. Unit vector magnitude is equal to 1. We have discussed just now. And k is a unit vector along z axis. K is a unit vector along z axis. Their magnitude is equal to 1. Only their purpose is to indicate the direction. So x component of force can be written as fx into I, magnitude into direction. Y component, the force which is acting along y axis, can be written as Fy into j. Fy is nothing but magnitude, j indicates Fy is acting along x axis, j indicates the direction along y axis. So now we can apply, let this is a force vector, we can apply here, let this is vector 1 and this is vector 2. The tail of the vector 2 coincide with the head of vector 1. So we can apply triangular law here. That is, the summation of, if two vectors along the two sides of the triangle, the resultant will be along the third side. The resultant is nothing but f. So f is equal to, we can write it as fx into I plus fy into j. Is this clear? Fx is nothing but x component of force which is acting along x axis. That direction is indicated with unit vector, and Fy is nothing but magnitude of y component of force which is acting along y axis. That direction is indicated with j cap. J cap magnitude is equal to 1 and its purpose is to indicate the direction that is acting along y axis. Right. Now these two are the forces. Fx into I is first force, Fy into j is second force, as tail of the second vector coincide with head of the first vector. So we can apply triangular law of addition. So if these two forces are along the two sides of the triangle, the third side will be the resultant. So resultant force F can be written as Fxi plus Fyj, which is nothing but triangular law of addition. Now we can find out Fx and Fy using trigonometry. Here Fy is nothing but, this is opposite side of a right angle. This is a right angle triangle. So this is opposite side and this is adjacent side and this is hypotenuse. Now what is the term that is in relation with adjacent side and hypotenuse? Cos function relates adjacent side and hypotenuse. So cos theta equal to adjacent side by hypotenuse. So cos theta is equal to, adjacent side is nothing but fx, whose magnitude is fx. Fx divided by hypotenuse magnitude is nothing but simply f. On cross multiplying we will get f cos theta equal to fx. That means x component of force equal to simply f cos theta. Always the term which is in adjacent side, the adjacent side will be in relation of f cos theta. Adjacent side will come in terms of cos theta term. Right. And similarly we can find out Fy magnitude. Sin theta is nothing but opposite side by hypotenuse. What is opposite side here? Opposite side is nothing but Fy divided by hypotenuse. Magnitude of hypotenuse is f. So that is, on cross multiplying we will get f sin theta is equal to simply Fy. Therefore Fy is equal to f sin theta. If we know f and theta value, we can find out x component of force and y component of force. X component of force is nothing but f cos theta. Y component of force is nothing but f sin theta. Okay? Always the adjacent side which is adjacent to angle will always be expressed in cos theta term. Keep in mind. And opposite side, we got opposite side in terms of sin theta. Okay? Right, we are going to see an example here. Two identical billiard balls strike a rigid wall with the same speed but at different angles and get reflected without any change in speed as shown in figures. In case A, the billiard ball is striking the surface of wall with initial speed u. Initial speed is u. After interaction with the wall, this billiard ball will be reflected with the same speed. He mentioned that the ball with us, but at different angles, get reflected with the same speed. Okay, so initial velocity equal to final velocity here. So in this case, initial momentum, here the ball is moving along x-axis. So initial momentum along x-axis is equal to, let mass of the billiard ball is m and initial speed of the billiard ball is u, and it is moving in positive direction, so momentum is positive here. And after collision with the wall, after interaction with the wall, the ball will reflected back with same speed without any change in speed. Speed will not be changed even after reflection. So final momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Here velocity is nothing but opposite to initial velocity, in opposite direction, left side direction. So velocity is minus mu. Okay, so momentum change in momentum is nothing but final momentum minus initial momentum. What is final momentum? Minus mu minus what is initial momentum plus mu. So what is total momentum? Change in momentum is equal to 2mu. 2mu in case A. Case A. Okay. So momentum imparted to the balls by the wall is equal to 2ma in this case. And he asked that what is the direction of the force on the ball? When the ball go and hit the wall, the force exerted by ball on the wall is normal to the wall along positive x-axis. Positive x-axis. In this case also, when this ball, we will discuss in this case later. So in this case, the direction of force on the wall by the ball is along normal and in positive x direction. And now we got change in momentum. That is momentum imparted to the wall. Next case, second case. In second case, see here, this velocity direction is like this with a speed of u, making an angle of 30 degrees. So this angle also will become 30 degrees. Alternative angles. So this also will become 30. Here the vector is u and making an angle of 30 with horizontal. We can resolve into components. So one component will be along this direction. That is, this is adjacent to theta. So that is, it will become u cos theta. And opposite side is nothing but u sin theta, which is equal to this one. So here u sin theta is pointing downwards. Similarly, I can resolve this vector also into components. This is adjacent side. Isn't it right? This is adjacent side to this angle. So adjacent side is nothing but always involves with cos theta term. And opposite side will be this opposite side. This opposite side will be u sin theta. U sin theta. So now here x-axis is there, x-axis velocity components are there and y-axis components are there. So I am writing initial momentum initial momentum along x-axis equal to initial momentum along x-axis. Initial momentum is nothing but before striking the wall. So initial momentum is nothing but mass into velocity. What is initial x component of velocity? U cos theta. So it will become mu cos theta. Okay. When this ball strikes the surface of the wall and it will reflected back. So after interaction, that is final momentum of the ball along x-axis is nothing but m into final velocity along x-axis. What is final velocity along x-axis? Minus u cos theta, because it is pointing left side direction. So minus u cos theta, that is minus mu cos theta. Okay. Now I am finding change in momentum along x-axis equal to final momentum minus initial momentum, that is minus mu cos theta minus of plus mu cos theta. So minus mu cos theta and minus mu cos theta, that is minus 2 mu cos theta. So change in momentum along x-axis equal to minus 2 mu cos theta. And similarly, find out initial momentum along y-axis, because there is a y component of term is also there. Initial momentum along y-axis is nothing but mass into velocity. Here velocity is pointing downwards, so minus u sin theta. Okay. Similarly, momentum after interaction is nothing but final momentum. After striking the surface, the final velocity along y-axis is pointing downwards. Final momentum equal to m into this final velocity is pointing downwards. So final velocity downward acting కాబట్టి ఏమవుతుంది ఇక్కడ? Downward direction indicates minus sign, and its velocity component is u sin theta, minus mu sin theta. Now change in momentum along y-axis equal to final momentum minus initial momentum. So final momentum is minus mu sin theta minus initial momentum. What is initial momentum here? Minus mu sin theta again. So that is minus mu sin theta minus of minus plus mu sin theta. Minus mu sin theta plus mu sin theta cancels each other. So change in momentum along y-axis is equal to 0. So there is no momentum change along y-axis. So there is no force acting along y-axis, because we know that F delta t equal to change in momentum. If change in momentum equal to 0, that means F delta t equal to 0. That means force acting along that direction is equal to 0. So there is no force acting along y direction. So only the force acting along x direction in this case. So x direction and pointing normal to the surface. Okay. In this case, the force is acting on the wall is pointing in positive x direction. In this case also force is acting along positive x direction and normal to the wall. Okay. Because there is no force acting along y direction. Why? Because there is no change in momentum along y axis. If there is no change in momentum, there is no force. Okay. Now, what he has asked to find out in second case, what is the ratio of the magnitudes of the impulse imparted to the balls by the wall? What is the ratio of impulse in two cases? In first case, the impulse is 2 mu. In the second case, the impulse is minus 2 mu cos theta. So now the ratio imparted in the both cases equal to. In first case, the magnitude of impulse is 2 mu, ratio of second case 2 mu cos theta. So ratio of this one and this one. So 2 and 2 get cancelled, mu and mu get cancelled. So what will I get? 1 by cos theta. What is cos theta? Cos theta is nothing but, theta is nothing but 30. So that is 1 by cos 30. Cos 30 is nothing but root 3 by 2. So 1 by root 3 by 2. cos 30 is root 3 by 2. So the ratio will become 2 by root 3. This is the final answer.